Hello, so this is a look at a recent web scraping project using Scrapy and Python, and in particular with a focus on using regular expressions and also using response.meta, which is a Scrapy method. It allows you to pass data all the way through the entire program, and from the start of the script you capture the start URL and that makes its way all the way through to the output. So this is a look at a real-world web scraping project, and as you can see it's real estate, so many of you might be familiar with the types of things we need to collect from real estate, which is house price, flat, apartment, semi-detached, street name, postcode, so on, so on. So let's begin. We want to use Python. We'll be using Scrapy because we want to collect significant number of properties. So we want to collect about 1,500 at the last count. And every web scraping project's got different aspects to it, different challenges. So I'm just going to highlight two of the things which occurred during this project. And I'm just going to assume that you already know about XPath CSS selectors, because kind of that's it's beyond the scope of this presentation. So here we go. Introduction. We want to fill all of the columns in our client's master Excel sheet. So they've provided me with an Excel sheet with all of the columns of the names of the information which they want to extract, and they want to keep it consistent across multiple spiders, so I've got to kind of stick to their format. So the structure of this code, much like any real estate web scraper using Scrapy, you'll scrape the first 25 listings. Those listings are a brief summary, which then take you, if you click on them, to the details page, and that's where you extract most of the important information. Once you've done that for the first 25, you will then proceed to the next page and rinse repeat until you get to a state where there are no more hrefs on the next, or next doesn't even appear. One of the requirements is to pass a particular start URL all the way through to the output. So if we're scraping the link for apartments, we want to record that in the CSV. If we're scraping houses, same thing. Also, some of the required values that the client wants, such as floors or floor number, that's only available in the paragraph text. It's not listed as a specific attribute. So we need to pass a block of paragraph of text and try and identify that. We don't care about how fast the spider is, whether it takes 15 minutes or 2 hours, we don't care. So I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to run with 1 or 2 concurrent connections, and my download delay, I'll put that at, say, 10 seconds. This is a German website, so I'm going to use Chrome with German to English translate for obvious reasons. I speak English. Okay, so as I just mentioned, if you can see here, the floor is the floor number, and they want to collect that because obviously that affects the property price. If you're on the top floor, it's probably more desirable. So we need to identify from that paragraph of text where the word floor appears, and then we want to extract the number that follows it. So we'll be using regular expressions for that, and also, as mentioned before, rent or buy. There's 2 buttons here, rent or to buy, and obviously they are different URLs, and each one of those will be an item in our list of start URLs. So Scrapy uses one start URL or many start URLs. If it's many, then then each one of those is part of a list. So the start URLs. I'm going to be using meta. Now meta allows you to pass information between methods or between functions. And that's not normally something you can do, not in programming without using object-oriented programming and so on and so on. So meta, request.meta is what you need to use. There's the Scrapy documentation. I'll let you read that if you want to. For now though, this is where we use it. Start requests. So start requests is looking at the list of 2 URLs, and then for each URL, SURL is just my variable name. I'm looking inside of the start URLs and I'm saying request whatever the one that we're iterating through currently is, and then save that or pass it as meta information when we do our callback. So I'm going to have house and I'm going to have apartment. You could have many start URLs. So once we've done that, I've tried to highlight the flow of the meta information. So pass it, I think the word is cascade. It trickles down from start requests, which then calls pass. Then once it's within pass, it can then get passed to pass detail. Or if you're at your 25 listings per page, so once you've hit your 25th, you want to go on to the next page. So then the start URL persists, and then it keeps within the pass function, so that when you get to the first result on the second page, it will also then trickle down into pass underscore detail. And you can already see my conditional if start URL. It's a little bit obscured, but it's saying if it's that URL, then we want to save it as Haus kaufen, which is German for buy a house, else Wohnung kaufen, which is apartment to buy. So next, then it passes down. Once it's in pass detail, it's yielded to the CSV, standard Scrapy. So although I say start URL, it's actually what we convert the start URL to based on a if condition. So if the start URL equals HTTPS blah blah blah, and somewhere in it it will have a query string parameter for house, then convert that long URL to some text which says Haus kaufen, which means buy a house. If it's not equal to that URL, because we've only got 2 URLs, then the alternative will be the else, which will convert it to apartment by apartment there. So ultimately, start URL ends up as one or the other of those phrases, which then end up in column S in the CSV. Good. So next, we want the floor number, and the floor number we can get by, as you saw earlier on the web page, it's all in a big paragraph of text, and we need to extract it from the text. So what you see here on this slide is actually what I did when I developed it and wrote it from scratch using regular expressions. I made up some property data in English because although I'm web scraping a German website, I'm converting it to English in Chrome browser. So using some dummy text, I just wanted to identify the floor number. So what I wanted was just the 5 there. So we've got a load of gobbledygook, and in the middle of all that, we've got floor, 5th. So re.search, and I'm searching for the word floor. In the official version, I'm searching for etage or etagen, but F or lowercase f, so a choice of, it's not case sensitive. And then I'm searching for that, followed by one or more of the characters, followed by the \D, which is a digit. So I'm looking for a digit, the first digit, or the first or second digit or third digit. So if there was 115 floors, we should still get all 3 digits. If we didn't split the group, we would end up with floor, semicolon, 5th. And because we only want to get the number 5, then we're splitting it, and then we're just returning the number 5. It's not returning anything after the 5 because we're only looking for the digits. Good. Right. Summary. In summary, we've learned how to pass the start URL all the way through the spider. We've looked at how we can extract some text, extract an integer eventually from a paragraph of text. And if you want to read any more, then Scrapy documentation, response.meta, and Python built-in RE module. So I think it's time to look at some code and run it. And if any of you want to actually use this code, you can go to rggh.github.com page and click on Scrapy 16, and you want immonetspider.2.py, and this is all the code here. So if you want to skip ahead or look at the code or copy any of the code, then it's all here. So let's begin. Okay, so I'm on a Linux VM, but you can do it on Windows. Scrapy works on either, or Mac OS X. So all I've done is open up Terminal and check I've got an internet connection. Now, next thing to do is just actually clone the GitHub repo. So if you want to see how to do that, just go to github.com and /rggh. immonetspider 2. In fact, let's download the whole repo, shall we? I think I may already have it, but let's try it anyway. So copy from the clipboard. We've got that URL there. So then we do Scrapy 16. Let's get rid of that. So then I do git clone, and I'm going to paste in that URL that I've just got from GitHub, and it's cloning it, and there we go. 16 immonetspider 2, and here we go, and this is the code. So yeah, I'm not going to write it all from scratch. That'd be quite boring, and really hopefully you've watched my other Scrapy videos or CodeMonkey King's amazing Scrapy videos. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to focus in on a couple of key aspects of this. So what we're doing is we're immonetspider 2. M means it's mixed. What I did was I had a spider 1 for houses, spider 2 for apartments, and I've mixed them together. So what we've got is, you might not have seen this on all of the tutorials. What I do is I just, before I run the spider, I do try os.remove, and I remove the CSV output file if it exists, because I don't want to keep appending to it, because especially when you're testing, you could end up with loads of, first time you run it, you may have errors, and then the second time you run it and you append to it, you'll open the file, and the first thing you'll see is all the errors, and then you have to keep scrolling down to try and find your most recent output. So if you delete it each time, you get a clean file, and hopefully it keeps improving to the point where you've got no errors. And right, so these are really long start URLs. So I've actually got 2. That's the first. Oh, what a mess. They are so long, but there we go. You can see if we keep scrolling across. You'll see the difference just there. You see there the types. So type 2, I believe, is the apartments. Type 1 is the houses. So yeah, the URLs look virtually identical, but you've got 2 there and a 1 there. So if you're scraping this particular site, just something to be aware of. Headers, what I did with headers was, you may also have seen in another previous video, in the browser, you can, if you copy and paste DE, you can copy and paste from, so this is obviously still in German, doesn't matter. So we're looking at, we put in man time and bind, ignore all that. And yeah, we just want to get the header. So if we do, it doesn't matter where, if we do right click inspect, this browser's quite slow in, I think Linux browsers are a bit slower, aren't they? Let's see what that's returned us. Preview. Very slow in Linux browsers are not great, but There we go. So we've got all of our headers there. So what you may have seen is in another video, you can copy and paste all of that. And if you copy, and then you can paste it into a script, which is I call process headers.py, and then you can pass all that and create it into a dictionary. So yeah, there we go. I'll put a link to that video about here. Was it up there? Or wherever, I'll put a link to it. And yeah, start requests. So with start requests, normally it will just be yield request URL, and you just have maybe one URL, but here we've got two. So all we're saying is this is my variable name, start URL in self.start URLs. So self.start URLs is equivalent to this. And it's pointing at these two URLs. So then call back self.pass, which it takes us down to the listings page and box 25. It's actually a box with 25 results, as I'm not going to count them, but yeah, one. And we scrape those with pass. Once we've scraped those, we then go back and visit each one of them. And that's where we do for link in links. So what we're saying is for each one of those 25, we're going to go and visit it. So for link in links, when we follow the link using response.follow, we're not going to do request. Response.follow will work with a relative URL. It doesn't need the absolute path. Headers equals self.headers, which is what we've got up here, which is what you can copy and paste from the browser, and as discussed, you can pass it yourself and create a dictionary. So that's basically the headers dictionary which we're passing. And then response.meta, as you also saw here, if you were looking closely, response.meta, and as I've kind of highlighted in the slides at the start, you keep passing it down, it cascades all the way down until pass details. So pass looks at the first 25 results or the 25 results in kind of thumbnail preview mode. Pass detail will then go and visit that, and then it will extract majority, if not all, of the information that you want. So here we've got lots of categories that we want to collect. Address, you might recognize the floor, year build, headline, garage, Stellplatz, Kaufpreis. Zimmer means rooms. Contact is obviously his contact address. So that's what we looked at earlier, where the start URL equals response.meta start URL. So what we're actually doing is saying this variable here within this function or this method is called start URL. If the start URL equals that particular original URL, then we're just going to swap that out and call it Hauskaufen. Otherwise, by definition, if it's not the house buy, then it's going to be the other one. So it's going to be Wohnung kaufen, which means apartments to buy. So what we didn't look at in the introduction was passing something called cortage values, which I think is kind of maintenance charges, something like that in English. And again, I had to use regular expressions. And here you can see /d. So I was looking for a digit followed by one or more characters. Then I was looking for a percentage sign, and I was looking for that I've abbreviated my search string to just be called T, just to make everything a little bit more compact, but T is basically equal to cortage value. So I'm looking in the cortage value and I'm searching for a percentage sign. When I find the percentage sign, I'm splitting the group and then I'm replacing the comma because in Europe, the decimal point is a comma. So I'm swapping out the comma for a decimal point, and then I'm replacing the percentage sign with nothing. So rather than having 5%, I just want 5. So, and then I'm taking the first group. And similar with the address is, you can have on a property listing, you can have either just the city name, or you can have a city name and the street name. And if you only have the city name, there's no street name, or if you have city name and street name, then the city name's in a different place. So you need to do find all, and we were doing find all on this. So I was looking for backsplash. So I was looking for beginning with a letter, and that's the reason why that is because that follows the postcode. So I was looking for characters that were following a number, because you had for instance, Mannheim 61558. So then I was looking for something following that. And yeah, again with city. So I was looking with city, I was searching for 5 digits. Again, the 5 digits, use the first word after the 5 digits, but ignore tabs and new line characters. This is all very particular to this site that I'm scraping. And if you want to scrape this site, then you're welcome to use my code. This code will not apply to any other sites you ever want to scrape, so it's specific to this site. But the principle remains the same. Look for some digits, and then if you find the digits, then find the word that comes after the digits. And that's, look up regular expressions, look ahead and look behind. That's what you need. And we're starting to get to cleaning the variables up now, so I'm just replacing the euro sign with nothing, because ultimately this will end up in some Excel sheet, and you don't want pound signs, euro signs in a column which eventually will become a number. So you don't want pound signs and so on. You just want to sort numerically eventually. And this is kind of the problem with web scraping, is that if you just scrape the data, you do end up with pound signs, commas, square meters. You see there, meters squared. And really, you just want to get rid of all that. And oh yeah, also here you can see cleaner. Cleaner is a lambda function, which I wrote, and I'll show you that as well. And I wrote that right up here at the start of past detail. And the lambda function, it takes a list, it joins it all together, and then it replaces any tab characters, it replaces any spaces, new line characters, euro characters. And what it says there is if x. So if any of these things exist, then effectively replacing them. Otherwise, just return a pair of empty quotes. So that's actually being run on virtually all of my variables, which you can see down here. So wherever you see cleaner, I'm saying run that lambda function on my variable that I've extracted with Scrapy, and then set that back to the original variable name, because we don't want to end up with new variable names. We just want to keep the variable name, but we want to just clean it first. Clean it and then pass it back to the original. So there we go, yield, and then we're just yielding all of these categories, which some are in English and some are in German, and yeah, ideally they probably should all be in the same language, but that's another story. Start URL, that's the one that we discussed at the start of the video, and I'm sure by now you probably just want me to run this, so let's do it, shall we? I'm just gonna let's go up one level. Spiders. Scrapy 16, wasn't it? Yeah. Open terminal here. And then we'll just do Scrapy crawl immonet spider 2M, I believe it was called. And we've got Scrapy unknown. Oh, no active project. Right, I'll show you how to fix that. Unknown command crawl. So basically, I'm running this with the official Scrapy syntax as recommended by the tutorials and so on. But there is the other method, which you just need to do import CrawlerProcess and then run it as a Python script. So let's do that. I'm just going to park that down there, always on top, and then we'll do from crawler. Sorry, just bear with me. From scrapy.crawler. You have to be careful with this because there's some case sensitivity involved, and you do from scrapy.crawler, which is all lowercase, and then you import this class, and obviously because it's a class, it's got capital letters, and then that's all you need to do here until you get to the very end, and then let's best practice, we'll do main driver, and we will say if, I hope you can see this okay, it's right at the bottom, isn't it? Let's minimize that. Okay. If dunder name dunder double equals, always remember the double equals. So many times I forget the double equals, and dunder equals main, tab in, process equals CrawlerProcess, and then we need to say, I'm just going to, there we go, that's better, isn't it? And then process.crawl. Then the name of our spider, which I'm just going to copy and paste if that's all right with you. Then paste that in there. Sorry, it's not a name. Sorry, I need more coffee. It's the class. And then we say process.start. And if we go back to our command line window here, we will select, then we can say Python. I don't know if Python is Python. Python 3 of, okay. Right, Python 3, and then we just pass it the name of the file rather than the name of the spider. Spider2.py. Not sure what that was all about, but here we go. So here we're off and running, and so I have got a error which you might see flash up occasionally, and that's there's a slight error in my code when I'm scraping for city and town, and I think it's when the town is missing. It doesn't stop the spider running, however, so I'm going to put up with that for the time being, as it's doing quite a fiddly regular expression to get either the city and town and postcode, or just the city and postcode. While that's running, let me just show you what I'm talking about. So immonet.de, and if we look at rental, and if we go to, let's choose one at random, you can see, okay, so here we've got Rudheimstrasse 81 630 Mannheim. So let's just make a note of these. So we've got street name, postcode, city. In actual fact, in the CSV, it's the other way, completely the other way around. So that's all just a block of text. So let's do inspect, and I'll show you. So can you see here, it's paragraph. And if I zoom in on that slightly, can you see we've got, within this class, it's all within the same class, so there's no other way of separating street name, postcode, city. And sometimes you'll only get city and postcode. So there's a lot of stripping. Just go back to the code. Leave that running. Park that over there. So whilst this could run forever, and see how fast it's going. That's impressive. I did actually forget to change settings.py to slow this down, so I'm going to stop it because I don't want to run it this fast. It's unless you need everything in a hurry, it's better to just go at a steady speed. And let's just open that. There you can see, that's just opening it in as a text editor, but we've got loads of good stuff there. And if I open this up in LibreOffice, that will wrap this up, I think. So scrapers, what did I call it? Scrapy 16. Anything else anybody would like to ask me about or advise me on, then please drop a comment in the comments. And there we go, you've got postcode, city, street. Postcode, city, street, Kauf price. So yeah, so what we've got is we've got the buying price, and because we've got, if we scroll right across, we'll see that we've recorded, we should have recorded. I don't know why this column, I think this is just LibreOffice, just compacting things for us. I think it was it column S? Yeah, there we go. So column S, let's just make it yellow so you can see it a bit better. And yeah, this is fairly significant. Scrapy uses twisted internet, and it's asynchronous. Because it's asynchronous, it doesn't get your start URLs in one fell swoop. So it will get some it will get some of URL 1, it will get some of URL 2, and they're jumbled up. So here you can see a whole bunch of Hauskaufens, a whole bunch of Wohnenkaufen, Hauskaufen. It's alternating almost. They're very mixed up. And yeah. So I hope this has been interesting. And yeah, any questions, give me questions in the comments. And yeah, good luck with it. Hope you have fun.